thank you for coming, for allowing me into your place today to record this. So could you say a little about how you came in contact with the Sisters of St. Louis and how you decided to enter?
Well, the story goes back really to my mother, who was educated in Monaghan, and she went to Monaghan because her father, my grandfather, who organised all the feches in Derry, where my mother lived, he saw the St. Louis pupils perform, and he went home to my grandmother and he said, "Our Kathleen is going to be educated by the St. Louis Sisters in Monaghan. I've watched them perform, and even the way they walk on the stage," he said, they're streets above everyone else. So that was the first time they encountered St. Louis. My mother started off actually in Middletown and was there for 2 years, and then Middletown closed the school, so she transferred to Monaghan. And she had the best years of her life, and she was actually in the same years as people like Sister Therese, and I can think of other names afterwards. All her siblings, my aunts, also went to Monaghan and Carrickmacross, and were also the same time as Colmkill and others like that. So there was a big draw, and the reason we went to Dundalk, myself and my two sisters, was that we had very poor grounding in Irish, even as Donegal people, and my mother felt it was unfair to send us to Monaghan. Dundalk had just opened as a school, so we were enrolled in Dundalk. And we used to talk a lot about our times at school, because my mother was so in tune with that. She loved it.
Yeah.
She also was a great performer, and even when she went to UCD after Monaghan, they used to have her back to perform in the operas. So she loved St. Louis for its educational values and for their value of and appreciation of the arts and
That's
culture.
Fantastic, yeah. That's a great background
So,
yes.
Yeah.
So for yourself, what encouraged you or inspired you to join the Louis?
Well, in those days, as we all know, there was always an expectation actually at school that so many would enter. That was always there. People would say, "What are you going to do? Are you going to enter or what?" And I felt quite unsure of myself, less so than my brothers and sisters. And at the time, I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I'd enrolled to do nursing at Vincent's, but somehow at the back of my mind, whether it's very ulterior motives, I thought that St. Louis might be an easy option, because I thought our St. Louis sisters were lovely. We had a lovely, happy time at school, and somehow that encouraged me. So that really, I found myself in Monaghan, and the first few years I found extremely difficult. And it wasn't about a change of life or maybe the certain hardships. It was because there was this niggle all the time that I was unsure, is this really where I should be here? I used to hear others talking about all these holy reasons why they should be in, and I didn't have those. And I continued with niggling doubts all the time. And I think the first confirmation about me, when I thought, this is why I'm here and I want to continue to be here, is Father Adrian Van Kam, who was a Jesuit from the States, came over to do a course with us, and I was the youngest there, and I got into this, and he said some significant things about primary and secondary motives for entering religious life. And at the time I could identify with all the secondary motives, your happiness at school, maybe the crushes you had on nuns, all these things that we all had. Then he said, all through your religious life, the secondary motives, he said, fall away and they're replaced by others, as you go. But he said, it comes to the crux, and he says, it's usually through a few crises in your life when you don't realise your primary is God. You know, that's when it'll confirm it for you, and that's when it confirmed for me. It was the first time I think I kind of had a certain peace, and I kind of settled down into a happier state.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Blah, then you came to England.
I went to college.
Give us a flavour of.
I didn't want to go to England. I wanted to go to America, anywhere but England.
Yeah.
And I think that being a North of Ireland person, those prejudices that our parents tried to knock out of us were still there.
Yeah.
But I ended up, my first place was Yarmouth. And, you know, a number of us, about 8 of us, went to England that year. Some went to Bury St Edmunds, some went to Newmarket, Aylesbury, and I thank God again that I went to Yarmouth, because we had the most wonderful superior, Sister Pancratia. She was the most visionary person that didn't fit the box of superior. She opened doors for us and everything else, and that was a tremendous experience. And I taught in the private school there for 2 years, and then after that I went to college in Nottingham. And after college, you know, I got my first posting, and Mother Clonkill was Superior General at the time, and I was asked to go to Aylesbury. So I spent 2 years in Aylesbury, and that's also another story which I won't go into now, that had loads of challenges. And I was only there 2 years when she rang me up and asked me would I move to Newmarket. And I was teaching, you know, a reception class at that time, and she said, I want you to go lower, to do younger. So I said to myself, how low can you go? And she said, we want to open a nursery in Newmarket. Well, I had no idea of nursery education, but a certain amount from primary, you know. So I went off to Newmarket, and I was there with Edith, and that was the most exciting time, being part of starting something completely new, having the utmost trust of the head teacher, Edith, who actually let me design. She let me purchase every bit of equipment. I ran courses in the nursery. I was, you know, I think it's one of that entirely happy, fulfilled times of my life. Challenging, but I worked with the Education Office in promoting nursery education in Suffolk, because it was the first of 6 nursery schools and it was a new thing for Suffolk. So I started working with the education authorities and doing training courses for young nursery teachers and promoting other nursery education. And you know, through circumstances, and that's how my life has been, I fell into something different. The head teacher, Edith, got very, very seriously ill at the end of the year, and I fell into the headship. Now, there's a longer story of that, but as a very young sister, I ended up in a headship, running a school where everybody was at least 10 years or twice my age. I was challenged greatly there, but Edith was a very exciting head teacher. She believed in the education of the whole child. It wasn't just the 3 hours. She was a wonderful person to learn from, and I was there for the year, and she came back, and she continued to be ill and had to leave. So the governors asked me if I would continue, so the post was made permanent, and I was in the headship for 24 years.
Fantastic.
Working with other schools, and I also worked very strongly with the pyramid of Catholic schools in Suffolk. We had 7 Catholic schools, so we worked on the same policies, so that if any parent went round our schools, they would expect to find the same ethos, the same procedures, the same policies in place, and that was, you know, a very good
experience. Blanaid, in your work, you come across people now in your present work, and we'll come back to that, more of that later. But in your present work, you come across people of many faiths and cultures.
Yes.
And how has this influenced your understanding of diversity and interfaith dialogue? I'd be interested to if you could sort of.
Well, can I broaden that a little bit?
Yes, that's exactly.
Apart from the interfaith aspect, I'm here in Brighton now, which is very alternate place to live. And when I went for the job as chaplain here at University of Brighton, I was in against 5 other people, and we had to give, it was a very challenging interview. We had a panel of 7 people, and we were asked to give a presentation of the current situation in chaplaincy, what we felt was the future, and everything else. So before I went, I really did a social analysis study of Brighton itself, the Brighton beyond the university, to discover it was the gay capital of Europe. So I felt that this was an important aspect to take into, that this is what I'm going to, the sexual orientation of this environment and the people I'd be working with. And I brought this into my presentation, apart from interfaith and working with other faith groups and developing that, and having, as I said in my unconditional acceptance of everyone that we encountered, and learning more about their faith group, studying what we had in common, where there was pain of separation and lack of understanding, and we did a lot of that. And they told me afterwards that the reason I got the job was I was the only person that actually addressed this aspect, and the only person who mentioned the sexual orientation of Brighton.
Fantastic.
So I've been working very much with student services, which has 10 departments in that. But the closest department that I work with there is chaplaincy. I'm part of an ecumenical team. There are only 2 full-time chaplains, an Anglican and myself, and the Anglican is the coordinator. We've part-time other faith groups, and then we have other faith groups, representatives coming into university.
That's very interesting. I'm sure that you're also sort of into the environment and different aspects of the environment of that. And I'm wondering, the 2009 call of the general chapter to be in right relationship with the whole of life and all that. Would you like to say a few words about that?
Yes, I would. And I suppose what's important to me, the core of my being, is relationship with myself, knowing myself, relationship with others, and what's been really wonderful and a real blessing about, I suppose, the chaplaincy is the diverse and wonderful nationalities that we work alongside. That has been, like, I feel I was exposed a certain amount to this through our African sisters, but it's widened beyond that, and I thank God I was sent here, because I didn't think I had tunnel vision, but somehow, my whole life has been enriched by the different cultures, by different faith groups, and recently Pope Francis Laudato Si. To me, it just falls in so beautifully with our charism of our last chapter, and we've tried to do so much with this with our students at retreats, getting them, bringing out statements of Pope Francis, getting them to explore, what does this mean for us? What difference can we make? Even the smallest difference. And that has been really, really good. It's been good in every way. And then, of course, there's the whole thing about migrants and immigrants and Calais jungle, which is just on our doorstep. That's been very much part of what we've been living out this last year. And how do we identify with these people? How do we meet? How do we encounter people when we see them in the soup run? When we go out and that.